Let's go. Live for today. What's up? What's up? Welcome back. I'm finally back on TikTok as well. My ban has been lifted. I am finally free to talk shit about politics again. And I learned from my mistakes not to put a text of bingo above my head. Uh, it's been a while, like 24 hours, and apparently it's not. It's gonna be another wild 24, 48 hours, considering like what's happening in the Middle East at the moment. The escalation by United States and Israel is looking like there's going to be a full-blown uh, war, destruction. But let's talk about the Epstein files a bit more before we go to the Iran situation, which is one of the biggest like news going on at the moment. But Hillary Clinton yesterday was in front of the oversight committee answering some questions about Epstein. And that was a kind of a nothing burger, like Hillary Clinton being there. Always joyful topics here. What can I say, Johannes? What can I say? It's been like this, like for what 2 months and 27, like almost 3 months now, in 2026, and it's not looking like it's gonna slow down, unfortunately. I hoped in the beginning of 2026 that it's gonna be a chill year, but it's kind of not like. Am I the only one who's feeling like it's nonstop, like bombardment of like shit on top of shit on top of shit? We aren't getting any breathers. I think 2025 was kind of the same, but like 2026 is looking like it's gonna like top last year. But yeah, Hillary Clinton's hearing yesterday was kind of a nothing burger. Like they didn't really get anything out of it, except like, in my opinion, it should have been public, but the Republicans didn't want it to be public. So it is shit on top of shit. It's by design. They want our heads spinning. Like literally, for example, covering news and reading about news and talking to you guys almost like usually almost multiple times a week. Every time I have a topic that I want to discuss, something more crazier happens and we need to discuss about that, you know? Uh, so it's, are you in the files, mate? Unfortunately not for you, DC. Unfortunately not. Kohta tippuu pommit Iraniin. That is accurate. That is accurate. And if bombs are going to be dropped to Iran, there's going to be bombs dropped to Israel as well. So there's going to be a lot of death and carnage. And we just need to remember to point the fingers to the right direction. After the stock exchange closes today, that could actually, like, not being like a conspiracy theorist, but that sounds like that makes a lot of sense. But let's just remember to point the finger to the right place when people start dying and like countries and houses gets destroyed. Like there are agitators and there are like aggressors in this conflict in Iran. And there are parties that want that to happen, and they've been pushing it for many, many years. Good evening, lovable stoner. Good to see you again. So, if they decide to attack to Iran, which is looking like it's gonna happen, uh, it is because of Netanyahu and it is because of Trump. If you don't like that truth, I can't help you. They don't need to attack Iran. Well, Netanyahu kind of needs to attack Iran, but like the United States doesn't really need to participate in that. They shouldn't participate in that, if you ask me. We have more firepower now in the Middle East than in Iraq 2003. Yes, you do. Trump is going to war to postpone the elections for sure. It is just like smoke screens on top of smoke screens. U.S. military deployment in the Middle East in anticipation of possible military operation against Iran, 27th February 2026. So there's so much military hardware at the moment surrounding Iran that it's baffling. Corbyn Dallas, I think Trump is going to find a way to postpone the elections or even cancel them. We already speculated that when the Minnesota riots were happening. But of course, that doesn't last that long. But yeah, like if and when the United States and Israel attack Iran, when people die, there's two people responsible for this. Then it will be civil war and the end of the United States. I mean, don't threat on me, guys. The QAnon and the MAGA, who used to be like Second Amendment and against the tyrannical government. They are now on the side of the government. They kind of like abandoned all of their beliefs and decided to join the government instead of like fighting against it when they overreach. I'm worried if they can't win a way to if they can't find a way to win, they'll create their own 9/11. Republicans. I mean, that's always a possibility. That is always a possibility. Second Amendment guys need to have an authoritarian figure to be able to go through life. They need a cult leader. Like, you saw, did anyone watch the State of the Union? The State of the Union was kind of like proof that it's a fucking cult. And the funny thing about like the State of the Union was like the fake uproar about like some Democrats who were protesting, and there were like Republican senators and Congress members saying that no Republican has ever done that. Like they have the memory of a goldfish. They don't remember Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert screaming from the top of their lungs when Biden was holding the State of the Union. But I mean, that's how politics work in the United States. You forget all the bad things your side is doing, and the Democrats does the same. Don't worry about that. It was wild indeed. Seeing he told 95 proven lies made up facts in 1 hour and 40 minutes. The Constitution prevents U.S. elections postponed even during World War I, World War II. It was never postponed. Johannes, that's like that would be the case if we had an admin that really gave a fuck about the Constitution. The people of the United States should give a fuck about the Constitution. But unfortunately, their leaders at the moment don't really give a fuck about the Constitution. I'm surprised he didn't have a stroke mid-speech. He was holding for dear life. It was unbearable to watch. Like, he was muffling words, he was mispronouncing words, he was forgetting what he was talking about, but people praised that it was the greatest State of the Union ever. And at the same time, as a non-native English speaker, like, how can you mispronounce those words when English is your native language? I understand that I might mispronounce words because English is not my native language, but you're the president of the United States. And we saw the same thing with Biden. Like, Biden was having a lot of difficulties talking. And people were shitting on him. But now the same people who were shitting on Biden for like mumbling and blurring words and forgetting how to pronounce stuff, all of a sudden are praising the same sort of like speech and the same sort of like, well, old man symptoms, all of a sudden it's a good thing. Because it's their leader that did it. Hillary wanting everything public and saying it to the press was gold. That was actually really nice. Dana, thanks for the follow. He invented groceries. Catherine, thanks for the follow. Like Hillary Clinton, like especially, did you see Lauren Boebert provided a picture from the closed door deposit that Hillary Clinton was providing yesterday? And then they needed to pause it for a second because that broke the rule that the Republicans also agreed to abide to. And then Hillary Clinton recommended to everybody, like, hey, why won't we just like invite the press in and have this open door? And all of the Republicans were against it. I wonder why. Hey, look, thanks for the follow. He said he invented the word equalizing not too long ago. True, Putin too could serve only one term until he changed the Russian constitution. Did you see what? Yeah, I did see. Boebert inflation. And it was Piers Morgan asking that. That wasn't the rules of the Clintons. The Clintons originally wanted it to be public. And Hillary Clinton also asked it again yesterday to be public.
Billions of dollars spent there.
What is inflation?
Well, inflation is when the price of things is over is too expensive because of the federal government really squandering the tax dollars. So you have the Green New Scam, hundreds of billions of dollars spent there to provide affordable energy, and it was not affordable. It was never free. It was never discounted.
Okay, yeah.
That money was taken from the American people
yeah,
and forced into the system. It wasn't a free market.
Hang on. What is inflation?
I mean, did that answer your question? What is inflation? Is she Trump? Thank you for using your platform for critical thinking. I mean, when we're talking about the Epstein files, I don't really give a fuck who is on the Epstein files. Like, put them all in front of the oversight committee, and they need to answer questions like, why the fuck did you go to the island? Why the fuck did you lie that you didn't know, like you cut ties with Epstein and all of a sudden you were making family trips to the island after he was convicted? You know, hold everybody accountable. Yeah, invite Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, fucking Bill Gates, Howard Lutnick, Melania Trump, everybody. Just fucking scorch earth, you know? Scorch earth tactic when it comes to Epstein files. Fuck yeah. What up, Blood Palini? Hillary, they were asking her the ridiculous things like about UFOs. It's wild that they actually asked more questions about from Hillary Clinton than they asked from Lex Wexner. What the fuck? What was his name? Lex Wexner. That's the one. It's wild that they asked more questions from Hillary than Lex Wexner. Considering like Lex Wexner was one of the co-conspirators of Epstein. Yeah, Lex Wexner, the Republicans didn't ask a thing from him. Who got dollars when the island was sold? I don't know. Accountability is not radical. I mean, some people call me radical. Jennifer, thanks for the follow. Because even his lawyers told him not to say anymore. Yeah. Oh my god, the Lex Wexner lawyer thing was hilarious. Say more than 5 words again and I'll fucking kill you. What was it?
Able to do that job but also do work for other clients at the same time?
Well, I think Peg does the work now. I think you could supervise the work, overview it, which isn't the work that I do, and say you could do really thorough work if you were doing it 3 or 4 days a month, certainly a week or a day a month, just focusing on these things, because there are accountants and tax lawyers and other people. And then once in setting up, as an example, I didn't have the idea to inventory furniture or valuables. And it's like, how could you have all silverware in your house? And I didn't count forks and spoons. And it's like, Jeff said, people could be walking out with forks and spoons. I said, gee, that's a good idea. We ought to have an inventory. But then there was I hired a lady to be like the house manager.
Talk about how the woman was keeping
US
inventory. By the
embassy
way,
in
she
Rome.
worked as the head of the Israeli embassy.
And I said, well, why don't we keep inventories of stuff? And she said, well, yeah, I could do that. So she did that as kind of a puny example, but I wouldn't have had the idea.
Oh my God, the lawyer is
Then
losing
all
his
the
shit.
things were inventoried. That wasn't work for me or Jeffrey. It was just regularly done.
I'd fucking kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words. The lawyer's face throughout that speech was like, he was just like, could that man just shut the fuck up? He's digging his own grave like deeper and deeper, which is true. But then again, like, if you don't think you've done anything wrong, you just mumble and talk as much as you want to.
As fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance, but whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen it for yourself.
Should have been offered exactly the same option. Secretary Clinton did provide the committee with a statement stating she had no information to provide, but the Republicans on the committee refused to accept that statement from her. The same kind of statement they accepted from other former cabinet officials. Secretary Clinton's opening statement was...
I'm trying to find the news for the Kristi Noem thing.
...of the Republicans on the committee. She said, quote, "You have made little effort to call the people who show..."
Why are we having these committees? Nothing comes from them. Just show up and say I was never there. Yeah, like, to be fair, I think a courtroom would be better. Put them under oath and, like, you know, I think that would be a better setup for everybody. What up, Tommy? Like, let's put everybody in court individually, right, Kathy? I agree. Like, whether it's these committees or whether it's like a congressional hearing, they're just fucking theater. We saw it with like Pam Bondi, and we've seen it with others. It's just a fucking theater. Let's put them to court, like real fucking court. Answer questions. Then if they lie, there's like ramification and there's like consequences. LM, thanks for the follow. Miss Kitty, thanks for the heart. Like 100% agree with that. And I do think that there's a few people from the Epstein file case that should be put to trial and ask questions, like proper fucking questions that they can't avoid. Those people are Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Those should be put in front of a fucking... they should be put on trial so they can make it like a political theater, and they need to answer questions like, how did you fuck this up? Bonninger could be there as well, 100%. It goes deeper than just what we see in the files. We are only seeing what they want us to see. Oh yeah, 100%. Like, we had a discussion like we've been having many discussions about Epstein files, and like it's definitely something that us commoners, us normal people, don't really understand. Like what makes super rich and powerful people do shit like this, like be friends with a person like this. Oskari, what up? Yeah, regardless of affiliation, this is a bipartisan issue. This is like, I don't really care what your political like affiliation is, whether it's Democrats, whether it's Republicans. Don't spam messages. Getting better slowly. Hopefully you're getting better. Just shared the gnome thing in the Discord general channel. Let me see what you shared. Let me see. General discussion. There we go.
We told you last week about GNOME's use of what's called a luxury 737 MAX jet with a private cabin in back, leased by the government, that she and her deputy, Trump confidant and accused sexual harasser, Corey Lewandowski, have been using to fly around. NBC News reports that ICE, quote, is seeking approval to purchase the plane for $70 million.
We need a leader. You need a, like a revolutionary leader. No, what we need our Second Amendment, 100%. Like I'm not a huge gun fan myself, but like slowly but surely at the moment, like Second Amendment starts to sound like there was a point that the founding fathers had to right to bear arms to fight a corrupt government, tyrannical and corrupt government. Funny thing, Alex Jones was right about weird parties. Yeah, but Alex Jones now is drifting towards like Trump, so we can't really take Alex Jones seriously. And again, after Sandy Hook's case, like I can't even fucking listen to that guy anymore. Fucking no fucking way. I can't listen to anything he says. Not even like for humor reasons. Republicans are enabling because of the blocking accountability and cover-up. They're like, I don't know why. Because there are Republicans. There's bound to be Republicans who aren't like kissing the fucking ass of the emperor. That are thinking like, what the fuck are we even like discussing? This is a known sex trafficker, a pedophile. And these are powerful people. Are they all like without common sense? Even though Trump and MAGA has said many times that they brought common sense back, it doesn't really look like that. You know, common sense for me in this case, in the Epstein case, would be to investigate every fucking one, regardless of the political affiliation. I think that's common sense. Also, common sense would be that if my name would be in the Epstein files, I would want to go and see why my name is in the Epstein files. You know? Epstein files made women win record number of elections. Hell yeah, Clinton said Trump isn't involved. But Trump was involved. Howard Lutnick was also involved. What people don't realize is there is no left or right, just guilty. When we're talking about the Epstein files, 100% agree with that.
Saying, quote, it would be used for deportations.
Everyone followed Kilder Adolf in Germany. It was mass psychosis like the Epstein files.
All right, check this out. We are getting a look inside the jet thanks to a virtual tour link that we've been able to get. So let's take a look. That's the outside of the plane. Welcome aboard the VVIP 737-8 MAX jet. Let's go into the hallway here. We're going to do this together, guys. Paneling's quite nice. This is, I think, maybe a powder.
That looks like a sex jet. Not like that. Looks like it could be owned by Epstein for one of his like wild party flights to the island that Kristi Noem is using. That is why, like, for example, Fox News and a lot of like MAGA people are afraid of women and calling them crazy for voting left, because they're super afraid that women will actually like change the tide of elections to come, because women have a lot of power. They are going to swing the vote on one side or the other. So I think the young generation and women are going to change the politics in the United States. Unfortunately, a lot of powerful people are in power. And according to the cost declaration, the plane was rented to deport people. Imagine being deported on a flying bang bus. Maybe I need to travel to the United States just to test that out. Because like I would be deported immediately, because I've been trashing Trump so much and I have so many fucking memes about Trump. So maybe I should go and try, you know? Yep, it's me. Thanks for the follow. The Clintons 33 times to Ireland, but they don't know. They don't know on 2010 wedding that Clinton went to. The lovable star were first starved and abused in detention, and then deported in first class flight. You wouldn't get deported. 100% I would get deported. You do realize that nowadays when you're traveling and trying to get your like tourist visa to the United States, they're looking at your 5 years of social media activity. You do realize that I've trashed Netanyahu quite a lot, and that's like a no word in the United States. You can trash anyone you want, but if you say anything bad about Bibi Netanyahu, like that is like straight to jail, like straight to jail. You don't even get a chance to like defend yourself. If you say something bad about Bibi Netanyahu, straight to El Salvador. That's something that a lot of Americans were afraid that, and also like pointing out China was doing. But all of a sudden it's okay when the United States does that. Hi bro, Israel is getting more powerful day by day. That is true. Would they accept this as a social proof of the last 5 years? The redacted pages. I don't think they would humor that idea of me just redacting my social media. I could try though. I live in the United States, but you live in the United States, but you don't know your own fucking new executive orders from Trump. You like, that's wild. That's fucking wild. You don't know that everybody who applies for a tourist visa has to provide 5 years of fucking social media activity. If I come there with my family, I need to also provide all the emails, phone numbers, and others that my wife, my daughter, both daughters have used. You think that's freedom of speech? There's no executive order that you can't talk shit about PP. Try. Trump has also played with the idea that the media can't like talk shit about president, that it should be illegal. So also saying fuck ICE. Most people are here just trying to survive and don't read executive orders.
on the left-hand side that the secretary may use. Somebody said there are bidets on.
They wanted to fucking prosecute people who called ICE Gestapo, which is fucking hilarious. But yeah.
This is the kitchen, the galley kitchen. When you go in here, perfect stainless steel appliances.
Lucky for freedom of speech, there are some judges still who don't take those words from the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security seriously.
Those are all captain's chairs.
Without those judges that Trump calls crooked judges,
if there are deportees there, I don't think they're going to be.
There might be less and less freedom of speech.
Corner of the aircraft, there's a couple of high stools there that maybe they'll sit on.
I like what you do. I also do the same for about 15 years now. Makes it real hard to BS me.
14 people.
What are we talking about?
If I have this right, yeah, for $70 million, that's what you get. You also get some of those pillows, which are nice. Those are nice.
World War II, they deported U.S. citizens back then.
Play cards or have meetings. Nice.
I'm not a Democrat, Cody. You have a bit of an issue there. Like, I'm not saying Democrats are any better when they're in power.
Is this a bidet?
That's why I've always called for like clean slate. If you really want change, in the United States, you need a clean slate because both parties, career politicians are fucking crooked. They're all paid by the same fucking companies. They're all paid by the same external foreign country interest groups. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like, in my opinion, that's the only way you can actually like make change. You can be as corrupt as you want to in the United States, like Congress and Senate, and even as a president. There's no consequences.
And then I guess third bathroom.
Like one good thing that Trump is now trying to do. I'll give like this is what I've always done and I will always do. When even if there's people who I don't disagree, even if there's people I don't agree with, if they do good things or they try to fight good fights, I'll highlight them. Trying to make a law that will stop insider trading from Congress is a good thing. I would take it a step further, as I stated last time. I think anyone who's in politics shouldn't have any stocks, shouldn't have any affiliation to any company, shouldn't sit in any boards of the company. Their family members shouldn't have any of that either. If you want to be in politics, you should be for the people, not for yourself and not for your family or your close relatives or friends to benefit them. And immediately, if you are caught like taking money and doing corrupt shit, 30 years in jail, good luck to you. You'll never be in politics, none of your family members either. Like, that's the only way you will actually get politicians who give a fuck about the normal like citizens of the United States. You have real consequences for people taking money from interest groups. Is he toy before you grew up your hair? What? I don't know. Like, you need like really, really strict term limits. Like Nancy Pelosi is the poster woman for a politician that should not be. She's been in politics for way too long. She's so fucking deep in corruption that if she was a NASCAR, she would be full of like sponsor stickers from different lobbyists and different like foreign interest groups. That should never be a norm. And that shouldn't be something people applaud to. Nation111, thanks for the follow, and Jimmy as well. I'm good with that idea. Oh my god, she has to go. Term limits and age limits. Yeah, 100%. Presidents shouldn't be above 65. Why I say 65? Because like last time we had the conversation, somebody disagreed with me about the 60. In my opinion, no one above 60 should become a president. But if you are 60 on the year that you become a president, then it's fine. Then you'll be 64 when you get out. 100% age limits to the presidency as well. Mitch McConnell is another one. That fucking old turtle is way, way too old. There's no lights upstairs anymore. Cody, also, I agree that convicted felons shouldn't be in politics. To be fair. 50 to 75. Nah, like, no, fuck no. Not 75. Not that everyone that is a perpetrator in the files is locked up waiting for their crucifixion. I mean, public shaming would be also okay, you know, the old ways, like a few hundred years ago, when they would put them in like market squares and you can throw tomatoes at them. We could do that as well. I would be happy. I would travel to the United States and Britain. I would travel to England because it's really close. It takes me like an hour to get there. And I could just go and throw like tomatoes at Prince Andrew. Yep, I would do that. What Asian country had child as their leader? Well, China had. One of the emperors in the old days was actually a child, but that's because the previous emperor died. Then his big brother got in power, and he also, I think he was killed. I don't remember the child emperor's name, but still talking about this. Thought important, don't you have an actual job? I do have an actual job, a really good paying job. That's why I can have this hobby and just talk shit about politics, you know? Ed, if you don't, not Ed, Vinny, like, if you are happy about a powerful country protecting their, like, pedophiles and co-conspirators for a sex trafficking ring and pedophile ring, good for you. I hope you have kids. That is really good parenting, and that's really good, like, but a lot of us here care that the people who were a part of that should be held accountable for that. Because, I don't know, again, it's common sense that we want pedophiles and sex traffickers and to be held accountable. Vinny, you're making kind of a lot of excuses for pedophiles, so I mean, you might want to look on in the mirror. Like, for example, like Bill Clinton was associated with Epstein, 100%. Fallen Skies 2, thanks to the follow. Like, this is the thing we talked last time, which is like, I don't understand why us normal people in the chat, because no, let's not kid ourselves. No one in the chat here who are talking about Epstein with me is a fucking billionaire. So why are we normies? Why are there normies that are protecting pedophiles, jumping hoops and protecting super powerful people who were associated with a known pedophile and a sex trafficker, convicted? Why are there normal people jumping hoops to make excuses for them and trying to make it so that they're not a bad guy, and like, without asking them to be, you know, investigated properly, put in front of a court? Like, why are we jumping hoops for those people? But every time you come up, this is your topic. I mean, the Clintons were just... Oh my fucking god. Don't you follow news, Vinny? Don't you follow what's going on? We're also going to talk about the Iran situation just in a while. But this is the starting topic of today. But if you didn't know, like, Hillary Clinton yesterday was in front of the Oversight Committee answering questions, and Bill Clinton is answering questions today. Also, we found out that the DOJ deleted a picture of Howard Lutnick with Epstein in the island without his family. So there's a lot of reasons why we're having this conversation, but we're going to talk about Iran in just a few minutes. Your algorithm likes the topic, obviously. I mean, that could also be the reason. The algorithm provides you what you search the most or what you like, so could be that as well. Rick, thanks for the follow. Talking about the Clinton files. Here we are. You do know Trump wasn't named 38,000 times, right? I think Trump's name was like, it wasn't mentioned, but the name was there quite a few times. Lovable stoner is provided. Tech. Do you hear me now? Is it now okay? Yes, it is. There we go. It's Larry fucking Ellison. It's Larry fucking Ellison. Immediately when I started talking about Israel, Larry Ellison just woke up and was like, yeah, we can't have this guy talking anymore. Lutnick was fucking guilty as fuck. Well, probably only Truth Social on Turning Point groupies. Orange in the files more times than the Bible has words. Like, I'm baffled that people are jumping hoops for Howard Lutnick. Like, 100% Howard Lutnick should resign himself. And if he doesn't resign, the Republicans should force him out. Yeah, I read that Bill White is doubling down. I was actually reading that. So, Bill White, the ambassador for Belgium, said that they should drop the investigation into Jewish rituals, circumcisions, insisting the case is a waste of judicial time and warning that inaction will be seen as anti-Semitic. Oh my fucking God. They were not taught the skills needed to researching and evaluating the source of that. Resigning is not enough. Fuck no. Like, Lutnick should get something more. Kimberly, thanks for the follow. Why is the administration not arresting anyone yet? Other countries are. I mean, everybody's always basking how morally high the United States are, but like countries around the world are showing that their morals are, when it comes to like PDFs and sex traffickers, their morals are way like in a better place. Judy, thanks for the follow. And to be fair, like there's a lot of powerful people, like Trump said back in 2025. A lot of his friends don't like the files to be released because they would be hurt. I think that's almost a direct quote. Friends would get hurt. Epstein files. Friends will get hurt about the Epstein files. Before, mostly and including him. Before jumping into Iran, Octavia62, thanks for the follow. Before jumping into Iran, you guys want a light-hearted conversation before that. Bill Clinton lied under oath. That wouldn't surprise me. Bill Clinton is kind of a fucking scumbag. Like, no offense, but Bill Clinton is definitely not like somebody I would recommend for the youth to look up to. Wrong tag. Where you going about Epstein about Trump wanting a bank in his name and what really filed for it? Design him another Democrat. left after the fucked up overburn. Oh my god, I share your like frustration, revolutionary. Like, I hate what the Democrats did to Bernie. Do you believe Clinton when she said she didn't know Epstein? We're talking about Hillary Clinton. Like, is it possible? Technically, yes. Do I think it's like? Do I think it's true? I don't. She probably knew. Like, it is possible, and it would be hard to prove. But again, like, let's remember who we're talking about. We're talking about Hillary fucking Clinton. Do you think that Hillary didn't know everyone who Bill even said hi? I think Hillary did background checks herself to every single person that ever waved to Bill Clinton. James Gen X, thanks for the follow. Did you see the file? I don't remember those files like by heart. That would be fucking creepy, but I'll check what that is. What was it? 5018. 5018. Am I fucking blind? Oh my god, it's not here. Just a second, I'll pull that up somewhere. Is that the Lutnick one? News investigation, thanks for the follow and Giddy Sprinkle as well. Why is that file fucking erased? Said her uncle was adrenochrome and organs waiting outside to walk us there, and it was made us walk slowly with her ask. Oh, it's okay. Gretchen, thanks for the follow, and Mozilla as well. All right, it's time to talk about Trump wanting to start a war because Bibi asked. So, time for Iran. There's so much military hardware outside of Iran at the moment that if an attack doesn't happen, I would be surprised. But this is something a lot of people don't want to hear about. When people start, if the attacks happen and homes and buildings get destroyed, lives lost, there are two people who are responsible for all the destruction and death. So remember that. There are two people responsible for the strikes, for the war, for the death and destruction. Just remember those. Can you give us a live feed of Iran? Where is my Iran news? There we go. Huckabee told staff to leave Israel. Yes, he did. And also UK recommended people not traveling to Israel, and China also pulled people from Israel. So a lot of like telltales that something's gonna happen. Who are the two people? Well, it's Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. Easy as that. I'm not afraid of saying that. Trump, of course, because he's participating in it, and Bibi Netanyahu because he's like begged Trump to do it for a long time already. if you think Iran is responsible for just existing, so it's hard to like prevent an attack if the only like criteria is you exist. You know, there is no reason for Israel or the United States to attack Iran. None. They are doing the fucking Iraq excuse again. Second time in a year. Iran doesn't have nukes. Iran doesn't have nukes. Iraq didn't have nukes. Syria didn't have nukes. Afghanistan didn't have nukes. Should they? I mean, if that's the only way to protect yourself, so I hate nuclear weapons. I don't think anyone should have nuclear weapons. No one. Us as a like fucking human like us as a species should agree that no one should have nuclear weapons. But of course, I know, and everybody here knows, that that's never going to happen, because there's power-hungry people who wants to have that leverage over others. Fucking bullshit. But as long as that doesn't happen, if that's the only way to prevent from other countries attacking you, you know, who are we to say who can have nukes and who can't? I don't think anyone should have nukes. But then again, Doc, I agree. As of now, because like the superpowers are not giving up their nukes and nobody's really giving up their nukes, what authority does the United States have to say that somebody else can't have nukes? It's the same with Russia, for example. They don't really have the authority to say that. And at least this is like, if we want to also extend a bit of a olive branch here, the United Nations nuclear program, the party that is actually like looking over if you are having nuclear weapons or if you don't. There's a term for that. What the fuck is like the term? But they have been in Iran quite a few times and haven't found anything. But do you know what country doesn't let them in? There's a country that doesn't let them in, and that's Israel. And that's kind of concerning for me. That we have a nuclear weapon power that isn't allowed to go to a country that has nukes. Is it even a secret Israel has nukes? No, it's not. Everybody knows they have nukes. How many? We don't know. Pakistan is again dropping bombs on civilians in Afghanistan. Yeah, I know that as well. That is also on today's topics. But Iran is going to be another fucking Iraq. And it's all on Trump and Bibi. Not the citizens of the United States, not the citizens of Israel, but their leaders, Trump and Bibi. What country are you in? Ireland. The beautiful, beautiful island of Ireland. Quite a long way from the Middle East, so if they decide to start dropping bombs there. Wasn't Iran just killing their own people for protesting? Yes. And I do stand with the protesters. But again, Iran should have their own revolution without foreign interest, like trying to do regime change. It should come from the citizens of Iran themselves. I'm all for revolutions. I think there should be a revolution in the United States as well. But also, if there was a revolution in the United States, I would have the same stance that no foreign entity should meddle in that revolution. It should come from the citizens themselves. Trump will do what PP wants, and Trump wants to interrupt our elections. And consider like what the United States did in Venezuela already, and Trump threatened Cuba today, that maybe they will do a friendly invasion. Now they're threatening regime change in the Iran. There's so many things going on at the moment. That's a lot of taxpayer dollars going to foreign wars. Who's to say a revolution wouldn't make it worse? Nobody. Instant blockmate. Okay, cool story. What made you block me? Was it that I didn't support regime change? Was it because I want pedophiles and pedo protectors to held accountable? Just so the workday knows, we Americans do not agree with Trump. You support the protesters, but you want to leave them to die on the hands of their own government. No. But I don't agree with foreign entities meddling. Like, it's the same in like, Cody, you should look into like the Nepal protest that the youth did. You should look into the Bangladeshi protest, or the protest happening in Slovakia or Peru or Sri Lanka or Madagascar, all those Gen Z protests that happened last year. Are you from Finland? Yeah. Ukraine wasn't a revolution. Ukraine was literally Russia declaring war, invading another country. If we want to compare it, it would be technically all the other countries would provide weaponry to Venezuela against the United States. If there was a civil war in Ukraine, but there isn't. So the comparison between Ukraine and Iran is not applicable. Doc, thanks for the follow. And as a person who's followed the Ukraine war since like 2014, that is definitely not the same thing. Not even close. Nepal protests are a joke. They asked ChatGPT who can be a better president. That's one of the best fucking things. Ukraine was pointing missiles at Russia. Okay, nice try. Nice try. Pankuga, thanks for the follow. I'd say it's worse when your own government is killing you. Yeah, that's why I was surprised there was less uproar when Rene Good and Petri was killed in Minnesota. I was really mad like when Obama killed US citizens with drones. And now I was also mad when ICE decided to kill. Is that South Park poster on the wall? No, that's actually Rick and Morty. Ukraine was corrupt and doing business with Biden when Zelensky was installed. What a foreign country does business is no business of their neighbors, you know. Finland does business with a lot of different countries. It's none of the concern of Russians. It's the same thing like who Venezuela wants to do business with shouldn't really be any business of the United States. That's a kind of a nothing argument, to be fair. Tell that to Israel. 100%, like, you don't need to rile me up on Israel. Like, Bibi Netanyahu, IDF, and the Israeli government is happily killing children and women. Plain and simple. They should be held accountable. Put in front of, like, a court for war crimes and crimes against the humanity. Have police in Ireland never overstepped their bounds? Yeah, once. Then they weren't called police anymore, and now they're called guards. But back then, the police used to be like British, so that's why the Irish changed the name to Garda. And it's not just overstepping, like police officers overstepping. In Ireland, you don't really need to worry about the police officers shooting you. That's a really good thing. Trump is waiting for an excuse to declare martial law until dying is the only choice we wait. When there is an agreement to keep Ukraine as neutral, then Russia... I mean, Ukraine's neutrality isn't threatened by doing business with others. And it's not really being free if it's still controlled and decided by Russia. That's not a permission, Joshua. That's like Ukraine doing business with NATO. What the fuck? That's not again, that's not permission to invade and declare a war. Have you think of political career? Not really. Because there isn't really room for an anti-corrupt politician. Trump is at war with Americans. That's an well, technically, if we're talking about the Americas, not the Americans, because Trump wants to own the hemisphere. So technically, the statement would be true if we take the N out of that. So it's not Americans, but Americas. So in that case, it technically is actually quite true, because Trump has many times stated his eagerness to own the hemisphere and decide what happens in his own hemisphere. Yeah, Russians were tricked by NATO so bad. Why would we need to have war if we supposedly destroyed all their nuclear weapons? Forerunner, I have 2 words for you. They lied. They lied. They didn't actually probably destroy jack shit, but they just... If you haven't seen how the Trump admin talks about stuff, they need to one-up everything. Even they need to one-up themselves. So when they do a strike, they need to tell that they fucking destroyed their fucking ancestors. They destroyed uranium from everybody, you know? They need to make it as ridiculous and as pompacious as possible. Pakistan has nukes. That's why the United States isn't trying to do regime change in Pakistan. Because they have nukes. What's the lie that we destroyed anything, or what's the lie there was never anything there? I think it's a bit of both. I think it's both, Forerunner. I think there never was anything because UN didn't find anything. And then again, because there wasn't anything there, there was nothing to destroy. Hey, Medical Misdelievers, thanks for the thank God it's Friday. Falling Berlin Wall, NATO promised they will never move an inch to the east. Look how I've actually visited to fragments of the Berlin Wall. Trump lies about everything. It's embarrassing. Not just lies, but exaggerates everything. This is kind of a nothing burger compared to the upcoming Iran war. But for example, the fighting against the pharmacies, which is a really good thing. Fighting against the overpriced pharmaceutical products, which is a really good thing. But Trump even takes that to the next level. Instead of saying an about 85% discount, he goes to fucking apeshit and tells it's 2,000% discount. And even my 9-year-old knows that you can't have a 2,000% discount, but Trump doesn't know that. You know, that's a really silly lie to tell, even though like saying 85% discount would be a really good thing. Everybody would applaud for that. But saying 2,000 doesn't make any sense. But he needs to one-up himself. Hey, thanks for the send, friends. Medical Severe. What a Blu-rays. I pissed on a piece of Berlin Wall. I've been seeing people saying America is Babylon in revelation of the Bible. I mean, I wouldn't quote the Bible, though. Trump math doesn't math. I wonder, like, why is his admin just let that happen? Why aren't they correcting him? Like, sir, don't say stupid shit. The United States of America will never allow a radical left woke company to dictate how our great military fights and wins wars. That decision belongs to your commander-in-chief and the tremendous leaders I appointed to run our military. The left-wing nutjobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous mistake trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey the terms and services instead of our Constitution. Their selfishness is putting American lives at risk, our troops in danger, and our national security in jeopardy. Therefore, I am directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic technology. We don't need it, we don't want it, and we'll not do business with them again. There will be a 6-month phase-out period for agencies like the Department of War who are using Anthropic's products at various levels. Anthropic better get their act together and be helpful during this phase-out period, or I will use the full power of the presidency to make them comply. Hey, wait a second. Wait a second. Are we again going back to like that socialism conversation that I had like a 2005? That government is all of a sudden dictating how private businesses are conducting their business. We will decide the fate of our country, not some out-of-control radical left AI company run by people who have no idea what the real world is all about. I mean, I've always said that private companies have way too much power. And I'm really happy that the United States has a president that also thinks that private companies have way too much power and they should be controlled more by the government. Now you don't know what to think if you're a MAGA. Now you don't know what to think. I think Anthropic is about to win a hefty lawsuit. No one cares, son. Oh my god, Hotch Dog, that must sting so bad that government, instead of like small government, Trump wants big government. You're a real gentleman, sir. Everything he does is it controls by his malicious narcissism. It is real and we are under that. Like, this is, I do agree. Like, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the banks, and now AI companies, they should be all run by the government. I do agree with Trump. I'm glad that you actually have a comrade Trump running the country that is actually thinking that the government should actually dictate and control private companies. I love that. He might not be an American, but guarantee you know. I love talking about like the politics of the United States. It has come handy in quite a few times. Like, for example, looking at student visas from different states and like how many, like all of those things. When you know the policies of different states and like, it is kind of handy. Basically, every government controls private businesses. Well, that's not completely true, though. That's why regulation is such a fucking trigger word in the United States. Because private companies don't want regulation. That's why, for example, Elon Musk and others are lobbying that EU regulation is somehow like against American companies. Yes, making products safer and making them better for the consumer is really bad. Regulations are designed to protect the customer and the people. Yeah, that is true. But American companies don't really want regulation because they don't want that. They want to make the product as shitty as possible. So as cheap as possible to make the maximum amount of profit. That's the American dream. That's the final stage of capitalism. Did you see RFK Jr.? Hey, Miss, thanks for the follow. If you look at your food industry in the United States, if you look at your pharma industry, if you look at your auto industry, like the reason why they're so butthurt about like regulations in EU is because like they can do that shit in the United States, but they can't do that shit in Europe because of safety reasons and others. So they need to invest more money and they will get less profits from it. Did you see RFK Jr. buckle down on like pesticides? He's been one of the most biggest, loudest advocates for anti-pesticides. And now he needed to backtrack because Donald Trump decided differently. What a fucking small dick former heroin addict. He doesn't have a spine. Like, if he had a spine, he would have said to Trump, like, go fuck yourself. I wish I could leave America and go anywhere else. I mean, you can come to Ireland. RFK Jr. fought pesticides for years. Now he's backing their production. Of course he's backing their production because his boss said he needs to back the production. But now the nation's top health official Kennedy is falling in line with President Donald Trump after he issued an executive order that's aimed at boosting glyphosate production. The order would also grant limited legal immunity to manufacturers if they are following federal directives. Kennedy on Sunday evening posted a lengthy statement on social media that calls pesticides toxic by design, but frames Trump's move as necessary for agricultural stability and national security. That's a person who has no spine. My wife wants to come to your country. I highly recommend. Ireland is a beautiful country. People here are super nice. And it doesn't cost corporations or government in universal healthcare if you get sick. Now they go to Canada and Australia. Is the Iran army with no air force going to beat us? I don't think they're going to beat us, but they're going to fucking probably bomb the hell out of Tel Aviv. Ireland doesn't have freedom of speech, though. Yes, it does. I don't know, Cody, where you got that, but like... Yes, it does. Can America move easily to Ireland? I mean... If you have a company, for example, who's willing to, what's the word? Recommend you? No, refer you. Then yes. Then it's not that bad. I literally don't even know what's going on because I have disassociated from everything. It's too much. I will still prefer Southeast Asia for retirement. I would probably go to Scotland, though. Do you know how long visitors visas last? Outside of EU. Lucky for us, we have that information available. Let me see. Oh my god. I hate Irish website. Jutta, could you do that? Jutta, could you do that? I hate Irish website. They don't fucking provide a simple answer in their front page. Are you in Northern Ireland? No, I'm in Ireland. I used to live in Belfast, though. All Trumpers should enlist. I think every single rich person's child should enlist in wars. You never hear much news from Ireland. Is that good? It's a good thing, and I think it's just like there's nothing that big happening in Ireland. Like the biggest uproar just a week ago was, again, our government tried to loosen up the regulations for landlords, and a lot of people got angry. So they tried to loosen up the regulations for landlords that they can change rent in the middle of a contract. And we don't really like that. Northern Ireland definitely doesn't have free speech. They are ruled by a king. I mean, you might want to visit Belfast and see how freedom of speech works there. They have freedom of speech. Without a visa, you can enter for 90 days max. Okay. Can you tag who was medical misadventures? What city do you recommend in Ireland? Galway. Galway, 100%. It is probably, it's a good mixture. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's next to the ocean. It is a beautiful city. 100% recommend. They can't slander the king without risk of persecution. Can Americans buy property in Ireland? No. I guess if you have a lot of money. But like, for example, for me, even though I'm from EU and I'm from Finland, I can't buy land here. There's stupid land laws here. I know Galway ain't this too small city. Like Galway has, what, 80,000 people there. It's the perfect size for me. In Northern Ireland, you can generally criticize, insult, or slander the king or make defamatory statements about him without facing criminal prosecution. Northern Ireland, as part of the United Kingdom, does not have a specific crime insulting the monarchy, which exists in places like Thailand. There is also no general criminal offense of seditious libel or seditious that would be cover mere insults or slander against the king. Civil defamation remains possible. The king or representative acting for him could theoretically sue for defamation if a statement is false, refers to him and harms his reputation, governed by common law plus the Defamation Act of Northern Ireland 2022. But civil cases are rare. Public interest defenses, truth, honest opinion, and freedom of expression under Article 10 ECHR, incorporated via the Human Rights Act of 1998, make successful claims very difficult for political or royal criticism. No recent examples exist of the monarch suing ordinary people over insults in the UK. So it's technically the same as in Finland. So politicians or presidents are fair game because they're public servants. So you can criticize them as much as you want to. So you have the same free speech we do, basically. We do. That's the issue with a lot of like people outside of EU and like, let's say outside of UK or Switzerland. They have this misconception of that we don't have freedom of speech because they are being told that we don't have freedom of speech, but we do. In short, more verbal, written slander or strong insults towards the king would not lead to a criminal prosecution in Northern Ireland today. You are protected by modern free speech standards, and the old repressive laws were scrapped over 15 years ago. But that is a misconception, not the only one that a lot of like people outside of EU think, because they've been fed that misinformation for a long time. It is LM again. Okay to insult the king in Northern Ireland. I just fucking read that it is protected. The Democratic Party will never be trusted again with open border policies. What are your border laws? Quite free. We are in EU, so we have Schengen. So Irish border laws are, for example, if you travel inside EU, we have Schengen, which grants you free movability. Have you visited Loch Ness Monster Site? That's in fucking Scotland. But no, I haven't. I haven't. Interesting weekend ahead. 100% Steve-O, 100%. Still in their own delusional world about protecting illegals over citizens. What are we talking about? Do you think Republicans will ever fix the border? Barbara, thanks for the follow. Would you say the UK has free speech? Yeah. Northern Ireland is also in UK, so I just read what free speech laws they have. Actually, the Constitution states our borders will never be closed. The UK again fucking can slander the king. Northern Ireland is a part of the UK. What are the best time to see Ireland? The 2 weeks we have summer in the 2 weeks we have summer in July. I would say that's the best time. No, like if you come here during winter, that's not a bad time to come. Like December was really beautiful because it was like close to minus, but it wasn't minus, and everything's green still. Like you have green grass, everything. There's leaves in the trees. That was really nice as well. But like summer, the 2 weeks we have summer, or 2 days. It depends what you ask for. Jason, by your logic, Obama deported more illegals than Trump. You are in Ireland, bro. What's your take on the upcoming war in Iran? That Israel and the United States should not do that. I'm sorry, this is a bit of a hot take. But like, in my opinion, Israel and United States shouldn't do that. Also, United States should have a bit of like, I don't know, their own self-governorship, that they could say no to Israel, not funding them like their military adventures. Because at the moment, like, if they go to war with Iran, they're going to war with Iran because of Israel. And that is costing a lot of money for taxpayers for a bogus reason. Just bombing, no war. You don't think they will retaliate? You think there's not gonna be any casualties, you know? Iran will fucking devastate Tel Aviv. What about all the young people being killed? You mean in the protests? Again, like I'm all for protests and in revolutions, unfortunately, when they turn violent, there's death. But again, foreign entities shouldn't meddle with internal affairs of countries, especially because those foreign interests, like the United States and Israel, has a lot of interest in regime change. I'm quite consistent when it comes to this. Like I don't agree with regime change. It has never worked. Hey, Rich Tasker, thanks for dropping by. Hopefully you have a great evening. 20-year wed, and I can say this will be terrible. Yes, and following these pointless wars or attacks, ever since like I started, my awakening for like global news was when I was on the 6th grade and 9/11 happened. And of course, after that, I followed the Iraqi war, the Syria war, the Afghan war, the Libya, all of those cases as well. The Georgia war, that Russia attacked Georgia as well, and the Hong Kong situation, everything, you know. I still remember where I was during 9/11, and that wasn't that big of a like news in Finland. It was a big news, but it wasn't that big of news. The USA was help fighting for its independence by France. True. But did France do a regime change? Your facts are good, but what about the Syrian and Lebanese people trying to get the Iranians out? I mean, I don't really change my opinion based on like what foreign entity is trying to push out a regime. Like the Iranian, like Ayatollah and the Iranian regime is horrible. They've treated their people really, really badly. But changes always come inwards, not from outside. So you were born in 89. That is true. LM, that is dangerously fast. How you figured that out. But yeah, I was born in 89. Yes, the regime changed from the monarchy of England to a democratic republic. Who said that China is getting involved? James Connolly or Bobby Sands? I think you've asked that from me already earlier, right? Well, I have to say, like, I knew who Bobby Sands was, but I didn't know who James Connolly was because I've like living in Belfast. Of course, I needed to learn about the Troubles and learn about the IRA. But after seeing who Connolly was, I would say Connolly. Iran, Mexico, China, genocide in Gaza. Always has to insult instead of reinforcement your argument. You didn't answer though. Sorry, yeah, but I would probably choose James Connolly. I would probably need to read a bit more about James Connolly, but I do know about Bobby Sands as a person who also visited Maze, so and know about the Blanket Men, so because that was one of the first things locals told me when I moved to Belfast back in 2011 was to, hey, before wandering off to the nightlife, you might want to pick up some like knowledge about the history of Belfast just for your own security, which came in handy because like back then they removed the Union flag, the Union Jack from the Parliament, the town hall, and they only flew the tricolor there, and the unionists got really fucking mad, so the protest came back. So Belfast was a dangerous place also then. We saw those riot police, we saw Molotovs, we saw rocks, we saw pipe bombs, we saw all of those things. I even saw a fucking bomb diffusal robot for the first and only time in my life. This is a fun, like, not so fun, but this is a grim story about like living in Belfast, talking with the locals. I was coming back from the gym, and in Antrim Road, I don't know how many of you know Antrim Road, but it's a big road above like the city center, like north side of the city center. And we lived on the like side roads of Antrim Road. And I was cycling home, and in the middle of the road there was like a police line, and people were standing there watching. And then I would say 5 or 7 meters from the police line there was a car, an empty car. And well, I just stopped where the people were, and I started asking questions while smoking my cigarette, and like, what's going on, and what's the hubbub. And one of the locals was like, yeah, see that car there? Those police like 100 meters that way, they think there's a bomb in that car. And see that robot coming there? They're gonna use that to see if there's a bomb in that car. And I'm like, wait a fucking second. So we are about 5 meters from the car, and the police are 100 meters from the car, protected. I said that, isn't this dangerous to be this close? And the locals' words still ring true. Well, it's not that likely that there's going to be a bomb. We've seen quite a few of these, and usually it's just a false alarm. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to find out. So I just took another route back home. I went through Tigers Bay. But it is still one of the wildest instances. And also when I was going to the gym. Before going to the gym, I needed to go to the Facebook groups and see where the protests are going to be, so I can avoid all of the fighting. And there was one road that they forgot to mention that the protests are going to be, and it's Duncan Gardens, which is a side road from Antrim, that I decided to take a detour to my gym. So I took that like detour through Duncan Gardens, and I saw the unionist walking up the Duncan Gardens road, and I was like, fuck. Well, I'll go just back the other way. No. There were the Catholics behind me. So I was in the fucking middle of both. So the both groups were meeting up there. And the funny thing is, I remembered what my neighbor said. If you're ever in a situation that you're between the two groups, choose the Irish side, not the British side. They will let you through if you're a foreigner. So in that moment, I was like, okay, that's the Irish side, I'll go there. And I was riding my bike there, and then they said that, hey, stop, who the fuck are you? I'm like, no, I moved here a few months ago, I'm finished, I'm just trying to go to the gym. And my neighbor said that if you're ever pinched like this, choose the Irish. And they were like, yeah, that checks out, get the fuck out. I was like, oh, thank God. But it was really interesting. I was in my early 20s then, so that taught me a lot about, well, the troubled history of like Northern Ireland. You made it, oh yeah. We even, like, me and my Finnish friend, there was like my wife, who I'm still together with, like we've been together for a long time, and there was also a Finnish friend that we had that moved there just right after we moved in Belfast, also got a job there. And during the protest, we were going to the to Belfast Centre, and there were like teenagers on the top of one of really tall building. They were chucking rocks on the road, and they saw us, so they tried to hit us with the rocks. And I have to say, like, you're Finnish, Tommy, so you know those kerrostalos, those like 10-story high kerrostalos. It is quite high, so they chucked the rocks on top of that roof to the road down below where we were. So, and we just started running, because we knew that even if those small rocks hit us, it will hurt like fucking hell. So we just decided to take off and run. I'm from Ireland. What up, Foreign Life? I'm also from Ireland. Talking about Ireland. Well, I'm from Finland originally, but I live in Ireland. The gym helped run. I think it's the Finnish, like, will to survive that helped us more than anything. Iran is prepared. Yeah, like, Iran has been messaging quite a lot today about, like, threatens what's going to happen if United States decide to. Same, I live in Ireland, not originally from here. Oh, we're in the same boat. I'm looking at apps in Galloway, apartments in Galloway. They can be quite expensive because Galloway, again, is a really beautiful place and like a popular place to live. But Galloway 100% recommend to anybody if you want to come to Ireland. It is so uniquely different than any other, like, this is a, here's some pictures of Galloway. Oh, let me open that in another link like this. There you go. You were like, this market road is really freaking, there's no cars here. It's a long, like, stretch of side roads and roads. And it is a really cool place to visit. And it's always like busy and there's music all around and there's people like enjoying food and coffee and drinks and like, it's like, it looks more like Middle European, you know, like a small Italian town actually. But of course, if you go a bit past the centrum of Galloway, you'll find like a lot of beautiful places there as well. What is happening with Israel? Iran, of course. Iran is happening with Israel. Iran's space program used the exact same technology used to build intercontinental missiles. Oh my fucking god. Stop with the BS already.
They don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation. They just don't want to. They don't want to say the key words. We're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They have to say we're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
I mean, to be fair, it's not a fucking United States business if Iran has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, India has nuclear weapons, so United States has nuclear weapons, Russia has nuclear weapons. I'm against, again, nuclear weapons, so in my opinion, nobody should have nuclear weapons, but as long as we have nuclear weapons, so the best protection against innovation or regime change is actually nuclear weapons. That might be the most ignorant take you've ever had. Okay. How? The government of USA said that Iraq had nuclear weapons. Yes, they did. And Libya, and Syria, and Afghanistan. If they acquire nukes, they're gonna nuke Israel. Wait. No, you have proof of that? The only person who's saying that they are willing to nuke Israel, even though that's not come out of anybody, like, because they don't have nukes. The only person who's saying that they would nuke is Bibi Netanyahu. And to be fair, I'm not willing to listen to a known war criminal who's willing to kill children and women. Ayatollah has never said that they have nukes. They have said to use missiles, which they do have, quite a lot of different sort of missiles. Never mind, you're clearly not educated on this matter. Citizens Baraya, please too, have this conversation about how it's okay to kill children and women. I love this. So I don't think war is good. I don't think killing people is good. But let's not be hypocritical here. If Israel wants to wipe Gaza and Palestinians out of the map, that's all of a sudden good. But if Iran uses the same terminology, that's not good. I don't think anyone should kill each other. How are we hypocritical here all of a sudden? Do you, citizens Paraya, do you value human life differently depending on which citizens they are or which country do they belong to? Yes, they said it. Glad I caught you live. Hey, thanks, Val Sheldon. There is no innocence in Gaza. This is from Israeli officials. From the mouth of them. There is no innocent lives in Gaza. Rowdy, thanks for the follow. Trump has only 8 months left. No, well, the midterms is in 8 months, so. That's how. I bet on Iran. I mean, if US and Israel attack Iran, and Iran kill, and like people in Iran is gonna die, and homes are gonna be destroyed. And when Iran hits Tel Aviv, people are gonna die and homes are gonna be destroyed. But then, of course, you guys already know that that is gonna be on Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. Those are gonna have blood in their hands. Iran has, at the moment, no nukes. And according to Trump, they destroyed their nuclear capabilities. So unless Trump is lying, so this is going to be another fucking Iraq, to be fair. You ever seen a woman get her eye pulled out of her face for speaking her mind? You know, so when the missiles are starting flying and people are dying and buildings are destroyed and homes are destroyed, that is on Trump and Bibi. We could have a different conversation if Iran would actually have nuclear weapons and they would use nuclear weapons. But considering like this narrative of Iran having 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, almost ready nuclear weapons since the 90s, we've had this discussion ever since the 90s that Iran is this close to get nuclear-grade weapons-grade uranium. Iran is this close. Every fucking... How many times are we going to listen to that lie? Citizens Baraya, I don't care if you're like completely blinded by this. You for war? No. There's more than just the nukes. They fund terrorist organizations. Let's just do away with them. Well, that would be, if they went there because of that, because they're already doing that in Syria, that would be a different thing. If they would wipe out all the terrorist organizations, let's say Hezbollah, Boko Haram, Taliban, ISIS, Hamas, all of those, if they went and did that without any civilian casualties, which they could do, I don't think anyone would be against that. Right? So you're good with the regime killing its Iranian citizens that wants freedom? I didn't say that. No. They are saying they're going there because Iran is this close to having nuclear weapons, Cody. Let's not give any more credit to the United States than Bibi. You said you don't want war. Yeah, I don't. I don't want any foreign entities meddling with internal affairs of countries. We are at war. Israel wants a war. Yes, they do. And let's not kid ourselves. Like Hezbollah and like ISIS also wants war. The information war is new to you. Okay. What Hezbollah and ISIS has said is threat to so many different cultures and countries. War is a must. No, it's not. What the fuck? Like... Have you seen my Obsidian Vault craft with some of the files? What? Have you seen my Obsidian Vault craft with some of the files? No. I mean, yeah, the current regime of Iran has treated their citizens horribly. Like, I've followed the Iranian regime quite a long time. And I've been waiting for the citizens to actually revolt, which is the correct step. So at least they will get a new regime that they want. But if it comes from an external source with external interests, mainly oil, mainly control, they will not get what they want. And then we get the same regime change as in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Libya, in Afghanistan. USA could just mind their own fucking business. That is true. But the Iranian people aren't armed. I think they are armed, but not as well armed as the government. The Iranian people ask Israel and the United States for help. Same excuse was used in Iraq. Same excuse was used in Libya. And after they got what they wanted, they fucked off, and the citizens were left off with nothing. It's the same thing with the Venezuela situation, where people were claiming that Venezuelans were celebrating. So were Iraqians, so were Libya, so were Syrians. And if you followed regime changes more than just, I don't know, a few years, if you go back decades, you would actually know that that doesn't fucking work. It is none of fucking Europeans or United States or Israel's business. Jan, what a fucking delusion. Okay, I tried to be nice in this conversation. But if you believe that the United States and Israel is helping Iran for the good of their fucking heart, you are a complete fucking delusional idiot. Sorry. They have their own interests. That's why they want war. They don't want to help the citizens. They would have done that earlier. It's not like, okay, I tried. I honestly tried my hardest. It's the same conversation we had when Venezuela happened. If you believe that they wanted to remove Maduro from power to help the citizens of Venezuela, that is a delusion, and I can't help you. Because we know why they did that, which is to implement their own leader there who is in line with the United States values, ergo money, so they can control the oil reserves in Venezuela. It's the same thing in Iran. They want that. The reason why they didn't help months ago for the protesters is because they want to implement their own regime there that will do whatever Israel and United States want. This is not a new playbook. This is not anything new. We've seen this so many times before. It is baffling to me that we're even having this conversation. Grab a history book, see how United States does this. It's regardless who is in power. This is nothing to do with Trump. This is how United States roll. This is how United States has done business for a long time. What's your take on the Ukraine-Russia situation? They removed Maduro because there was a direct cooperation with China and Russia in the US hemisphere. If you want to, yeah, that's one of the reasons. Also, one of the reasons is Venezuela started doing deals with oil other than US dollar, which is the same thing happened in Libya, Iraq, Syria. Iraq, Libya, and Syria started doing business with countries not using the dollar just before they were liberated, you know? Not saying there's a correlation, but oil was also a big part of those regime changes and liberation, or what you say, the Ukraine, Russia, I'm awful, like I'm Finnish, and I live in Ireland as well, so I sympathize with Ukraine quite a lot. And kind of goes in line with this, like, it's none of Russians' business who Ukraine does business with, who do they align to, if they want to join EU or not. It's none of Russia's business. Ukraine is a sovereign country, they can decide themselves. And Russia could end the war instantly by just removing their troops from Ukraine and giving the territories back. That's it. War would end instantly. It's because there's some covert war between intelligence agencies over the e-files, supposedly. Do you think the US would allow Mexico to join BRICS? I mean, I think, Talentless Nugget, you're asking the wrong question. The right question would be, what authority would United States have to dictate what Mexico does and doesn't? What about the 2014 coup? Ukraine people did vote not to be EU. That's, Cody, where you and I differ. I don't think it's like valuable to use your military force to dictate your foreign policy. I don't want to live in a world like that, and I think our future generations shouldn't have to live in a world like that. Unfortunately, the years 2025 and 2026 have more and more shown that we are going back in times instead of like going forward in times. We have leaders in the world at the moment that think that things in the past were so fucking good. We should be evolving as a species. We should be evolving. Now we're going backwards in time. And if you think that's a good thing, I can't really change your mind. Like, other than when you're starting to see death and destruction in your neighborhoods, then you might change a different opinion. But at that point, it's too late. The US took out the election president of Ukraine because he went against EU. I'm not saying it's right, but Russia told us what they would do if NATO pursued Ukraine. You know what Russia should really focus more is making the place better for their citizens. I know, of course, because being a Finn, I know a lot of people from Russia. And unfortunately, of course, Russia will never have a proper revolution because Russian government is not afraid to kill their own citizens. They're already sending the youth to the meat grinder. So there is not going to be like a future generation that will oppose the current Kremlin and the current people in power. So what Russia should probably concentrate more is like improving their diplomatic relationship with the world again, instead of like pursuing a war that really doesn't gain anything for them. But then again, they've done this so long that if they now back down, it will make them look weak. So Putin, of course, can't do that, because it would make Putin look like such a weak bitch. So he needs to pursue this. Hi Alice, are you still receiving gender affirming care? I've never received that though. UK foreign policy was behind the coup and US. Do you think if Obama was still in office, he couldn't have done the same thing as Trump against Iran? I mean, Obama was as much of a puppet for foreign influence than Trump was. That's why I've said so many fucking times that United States needs a clean slate, because your country's actions, your military actions, are dictated by lobbyists and foreign entities, not your leaders. Lobbyists, for example, oil companies, foreign entities, other countries. Or in this case, it might be actually like investors for a certain family, not saying who. Did Putin really say the reign of the vampires is coming to an end? NATO is a foreign entity. Should we leave NATO? This might be a bit of a surprise to many people, but I have never been in favor of NATO. I was never in favor of NATO until Russia decided to attack Ukraine. And then when Finland joined NATO, I understood that. I understand NATO. I'm not for NATO because, again, I am against war and I'm against killing. So it would be hypocritical for me to be in favor of NATO. You know? I understand why Finland joined NATO. I understand why Sweden joined NATO after the war that Russia started against Ukraine. I understand that. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I do understand. It's the same thing that I understand how IRA here in Ireland, how it became. I understand what made the circumstances that the creation of IRA happened. It's the same thing that I understand what led up to the creation of Hamas, what led up to the creation and finally the attacks in 9/11. I understand that. Doesn't mean I need to agree with it. But if I don't even humor the idea of like understanding what causes these things, I can't really have a proper conversation around it, you know? Hey Tommy, thanks for spending time here, and we'll have this more. Russia was not only the only instigator; it's dissenters to say U.S. NATO interests did not contribute. Yeah, and like, you know, for example, IRA is one of the best examples of this. Roots, thanks for the follow. Like, I understand why IRA was created. If you've read what led up to the Troubles, how the British treated the Irish, you understand when a group of people is backed up to a corner. They are mistreated, they are discriminated, they are pushed to the brink that they don't see a future. That is where militias, that is where paramilitary groups are created to fight that tyranny that is actually oppressing them. The same thing actually goes to a lot of like paramilitary groups around the world. So when you're talking about, for example, IRA, or when you're talking about, Hamas in Palestine, we do understand what causes that. Steve-O, thanks for the follow. You know? That's how, for example, if we talk about the history of the United States, it kind of happened there as well. If you read what led up to the War on Independence, the same thing happened in the United States. Are all of those groups good or bad? It's their like creation of their time. You have a very reasonable opinions, bro. Hey, thanks. It's the same, like, it's also like in Finland, and it's also in other places. Like, when you oppress enough a group of people, they either accept their fate and slowly die, or they try to fight back. And usually when they fight back, they form those groups. And we've seen throughout history that these groups have done incredible things and managed to do change. But then again, the reason why you're saying that the Americans were good for fighting for independence, some might use the same argument for a case that you don't seem as good, but the same group is thinking. Like, if we ask for like British, like old British, what they thought about like the American, the Minutemen and the paramilitary groups back then, they wouldn't look at Americans as like good for fighting for their independence. The same as if you ask British what they think about the IRA, they wouldn't think they're good. The same if you ask like IDF soldiers what they think about Hamas, and if you ask Hamas what they think about IDF, even though IDF isn't really like a paramilitary group, it's technically the same as British were. But like, there's always two sides of it. You know? I do think that United States getting their independence is a good thing. As I've stated many times, I've been on the side of revolutions for a long time. And I do think revolutions are really good. If you feel like your government is oppressing you, you need to remember that there is strength in numbers. And people have more power than they think, even though a lot of people in the United States feel like they don't have any actual power because there's powerful lobbyists and companies backing up the politicians. But you have more power than you think. And that is what scares a lot of people in power. And they try to make it so that you don't actually realize how much power you have. That's not happening only in the United States, that's happening around the world as well. Slowly but surely, the young generation is actually understanding how much power they do have. And once you understand that, you can create that change. But the only way that happens, if you keep your mind and you keep questioning your leaders, even keep questioning the people you vote for. Because if you hold the people you vote in for power, let's say to Congress or an MP or a president or a prime minister, even though prime ministers aren't really voted, they are decided by the party who wins the election here. But if you don't hold them accountable for the bullshit they do, you are giving up more and more of your independence and your power, and you're becoming a part of a cult. Sorry for a long rant there, but this is why I've always emphasized the importance of like being able to criticize and also praise when you see something that deserves it. That's why I'm praising Trump, for example, when Trump is fighting the pharmaceutical companies and fighting the insurance companies and trying to make those cost less for the Americans. But at the same time, I'm criticizing Trump for stealing another country's oil and literally taking over that country. You know, at the same point, I'm criticizing like left-wingers, what they are doing, what they did for fucking Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton is a fucking monster. Holding accountable for people, even people who you like, who you voted for, is a healthy way of keeping your own independence for your own opinions, you know? Does that make sense? does that actually like make any sense? Because that's one of the issues in the United States, for example, at the moment, is like you have those tribal mentalities that my leader can never do anything wrong, or if they did something wrong, I can't admit it. And if you point out something that my leader did wrong, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, you are attacking me personally because I am a part of that movement, whatever the movement, if it's the radical left or the radical right. So you've attached your own personality to something else that is out of your control. And because you made that a part of your personality, you need to protect that. You need to fight against it. Voting does not work. The reason why voting doesn't work is because of the corruption and the current state of politics. That's talentless Nuggets, the reason why I'm always advocating for a clean slate. Not just in the US, but like, for example, here in Ireland, we've had two major parties ruling for decades. Nothing changes. People are voting for them because their parents voted for them and their grandparents voted for them. And everybody bitches that everything is shit here, but they're still voting for the same parties. So a clean slate is something that a lot of countries need. Yeah, I agree. We should have opinions on individual issues. Just saying you're left or right is stupid. 100%. I had an interesting conversation. This is the last topic today, but I had an interesting conversation about like the two-party system in the United States and its limitations, because here in Europe we have multiple parties. So because not everything is like conservative versus liberal, well, not everything is right versus left. There's nuances that if you only have two parties, you don't really have a proper candidate, because the parties are dictating what their actual policies is. So even if you have a candidate that might be quite good, they can be overrun by the party itself. So it is hard for Americans who doesn't really fit in either one to find a candidate they want to vote, because independents are kind of pointless. So I don't know. Maybe multiple parties would be the way to go in the United States. That way also it would make lobbying kind of pointless, because it's quite easy to lobby two parties only compared to like 5 or 6. US is fighting against British Bank Cabal and their British Roundtable influence on US foreign policies. I feel like we are mercenary soldiers for Israel. I mean, not to pass too much Israel, but they are getting their way. But then again, you have people like Lindsey Graham warmongering again. Lindsey Graham has been the fucking biggest advocate for war. That's why we have a primaries, but I do wish independent candidates were stronger. Not just only like to have a third option, but just because there's a lot of people who fall in the cracks, and then they either don't vote or they vote somebody and it doesn't really do anything, and they lose interest in it. It doesn't matter who's wearing the boot if it's on your neck. That's why we need to make corruption and lobbying completely illegal and punishable by jail time. Death penalty, maybe? Or if we want to make lobbying and corruption really unpopular among politics, they would need to wear jacket that has sponsor stickers. You know, that's one of the that would be kind of funny to see for a while. Like all the Congress people and also senators and presidents would have sponsor stickers on their jackets that you can see how much money did they receive from a person, and if it's off by even 1 cent, off to the gallows. Race car drivers, exactly, like NASCAR. Lindsey Graham lives 50 miles from me. Shut up. Really? There shouldn't be corporate lobbyists. Like, I think that's something that there's a lot of people in the chat, and there's usually a lot of people in the chat also that doesn't really, we don't agree with everything 100%. But one thing that I've noticed that a lot of people do agree with is that lobbying and corruption should be fought amongst our politicians, and they should be as free of like lobbyists as possible. That is a bipartisan topic that I've seen more support than any other topic we've have had a conversation on. Yeah, lobbying is just politically correct corruption. That is true. People are too focused on Israel. They have their own policy that isn't American interest at all. I like, it's not even like inside Israel, inside the government. I don't know if you've actually like watched their own version of like parliamentary conversations that they've had. There's a huge uprising of their opposition for the Netanyahu's government, and also they have the court case against the Netanyahu for like the corruption and security breaches. The same ones that Trump wants Netanyahu to be pardoned, even though he's not sentenced yet. So there's a lot of like turmoil inside Israel's parliament as well, and of course I follow that as well, because I am interested in world politics, like global politics. So I follow a lot of different things. Look up murder case in South Carolina. Let's see. Alex Murdaugh, a former South Carolina attorney, is currently appealing his 2023 life sentence for the murder of his wife. But he can't get out, right? What? In March 2023, Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of 2 counts of murder and weapon charges, received 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. Don't fucking tell me he's a Trump donator. He won't get out. He's working with Graham. No. 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 They can't, like, will be interesting to see a follow live after the Iran operation is over. I mean, I'll be live tomorrow as well. Like, we'll be following the Iran situation quite closely, like throughout the weekend. So 100% recommend joining in. Yes, and connected to the first Epstein's victim. Okay, I'll end the stream for this. Like, this is partially satirical and partially truthful, which is the best sort of like comedy you can ever get. But we all know that fraud is something that we want to fight, unless you've donated money for Trump. Because if you donate enough millions to Trump, even if you committed fraud, you will get pardoned. It's kind of a satirical take, but it is also true. Hey, CPT Homer, thanks for the follow. They are all on the same team. That is slowly but surely showing this like to be true, 100%. Oh my god. I need to follow the Graham, because that Graham story that you shared, Lori, is actually happening literally now. Like, yeah, the murder case, yeah. The murder case, yeah. It is literally happening now. I need to study about that. We gotta get them before they get us. It's a class war. They know it. They're winning. That's why I've said many times, like us normies, us who have 9-to-5 jobs, who go to work and like have families and such. We need to unite instead of fight each other. Instead of like arguing and being divided as a nation and as people, we should unite and fight against, you know, the super rich and powerful. We have the numbers. But hey, thanks for everybody who joined. We had some good conversations. And as I've stated many times, we don't need to agree with everything. And we can agree on some things. We can disagree on some things because we're human. It would be weird if we always agreed with everything. I might have takes that you don't agree with. And like, that's fine. That's fine. You might have takes that I don't agree with. That's fine. So that's just human nature. Stream locked up for me. Really? Let's see. It's not a left versus right, it's up versus down. Like, no, it's working. Okay. Needed to check if it works. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. And I wish that United States and Israel is not gonna attack Iran, but as we know, that probably is not gonna happen. They're probably gonna attack. So, but yeah, thanks everyone for joining. See you guys tomorrow.